Good morning, good afternoon. This is the exhibit technician demonstration for Alaris Litigation Services taking place on 9/23/2020. And anytime during this webinar, please ask questions at the bottom by using the Q&A. I'll respond to them or bring them up as soon as I can. And then there'll be time at the end of the demonstration as well. Let's see here. So I want to start by kind of going over how we're doing this and why we're doing this, and a few steps along the way in which this will help yourselves, your firms, and if you need help, that's what we're here for. So that's what I'm going to show. The first thing, as you can see on the screen, is our getting started. And this is kind of rudimentary, but it's really important, is to gather your materials and identify what you potentially might or want to display at a deposition. Just like any other normal deposition, the difference is now, instead of a briefcase or box banker of documents, we're going to do electronically. And what I've been seeing over the last few months is making sure you have all the materials that you need for your deposition. Forgetting a file or leaving it on another computer, especially since individuals are working at remote locations and at home. So what will happen is they'll forget the file on the other computer. And this is just to double check to make sure you have those files. In addition to this is making sure you have a local copy. And that's important because if you're working from remote or home, a lot of companies are using VPN and you're going to pull materials down. If you're sharing materials via this method, sometimes there is a lag in pulling up documents that are very large or several pages, both by large as in number of pages and file size. So having a local copy to allow you to pull things up a lot easier and a lot faster will be tremendously helpful. In addition to, this is it's recommended but not required, is a convert to PDF. PDF are kind of universal, that you don't have to have any additional software, and right now Microsoft Edge will read those, as well as a number of other free or included viewers on your machine. Having specific files for Word, Excel, or any additional files past that kind of complicates a few things sometimes, so PDF is most recommended, especially with using our exhibit text. Ingestion of PDFs into our software is very welcome, and it makes things a lot easier. Lastly, and this is kind of a newer item, is if you have extensive amount of materials to show or potentially show, provide us a list. A range would work too, 1 to 50, 1 to 100. Sometimes that's not the case, but providing a list with a description to help yourself or to keep track of materials is very helpful, so that going forward, you know what is being used, and then you can identify exhibits in their chronological order in which they're introduced, or how you would like to have them in your case folder. If you have any questions on this, please, again, pop up. We'll have them come up and I'll take it for you. Methods of sharing. Our main platform is Zoom. I'll state that right now. We do support WebEx as well. While it's pretty good, it's there. What we're finding is with depositions, however, that Zoom is the best platform for recording depositions and showing materials in our world, so to speak. And it does it by one of two ways. You share the application, or you share the full screen. And I'll do a sample of that here in a moment, but what I'm trying to explain is sharing the application is just like sharing Adobe Reader, just that window and just the materials within it. However, if you share the entire screen, items such as pop-ups, your email, anything of that might be game to being recorded and or seen by parties to the video conference. So something to keep in mind while you're presenting. Now, there are some advantages to showing the screen. If you've got more than one document in different applications, by all means, it's good. sharing your screen could also help with web browsers and an exhibit. So you can use a mix or a combination of any of the demonstratives at the same time. Just be aware that you might have something come up. In addition to that, I would recommend the use of 2 monitors. Whether we are doing it or if you're showing exhibits or materials, showing from 2 monitors is very helpful in navigating both Zoom or your video conference application and these materials. And I'll do that right here. I'm going to exit my, I'm going to stop the share screen for a moment. And I'm going to share, not so to speak, my application just now, but I'm going to show you my desktop. And it's going to be pretty sparse. So I'm sorry for that. This is my secondary monitor in which I'm going to be using. And in here, locally, I've created a folder for my deposition exhibits. And it's pretty basic. I can't get those lost if I open those up. You can see the folder in which I have saved a PDF version and my native document and a clean copy, so if I need to refer to them. But in this application, you can see multiple windows, and if I was to open said document in this, I can have them side by side. Kind of gets a little bit messy though, is if I'm trying to show 2 things. So in that regard, I'm going to go to the method of showing just the application. So I'm going to do a new share, and one caveat is you have to have the application open to share it. You can't go to the share and then navigate for the file, but luckily I already have Exhibit A open. I choose I want to show Exhibit A, and then now all you can see on that share screen is just that document. I'm not sharing the entire screen, but just the materials in here. It works just as fine. You will then have to navigate, or in this instance, if you're having Alaris do it, we're going to do it one different method. But the takeaway here is showing the materials, not a problem. You do, however, get these menus, pop-ups, tools, and sometimes they can distract from showing the materials. So scrolling is fine. You can zoom in, zoom out. All of these functions work within Adobe or your native application. Just have to be aware of how to show or use them is the best way. The same thing with using highlight tools. It will work. It's actually highlighting the OCR text, so it's a little bit different than how we will do it here in a moment. Again, this is sharing the application, not the screen. The first one was the whole screen. So I'm going to close this and it'll stop my share. This next is the same document essentially, but in our trial software. And that software is OnQ, and I'll get to that in a moment, but I'm going to share this screen. And this is our presenter. This is the OnQ Live presenter. Very clean display or layout. And in here, let's see here, resume sharing. This is where it shines. And we'll come back to another slide, but basically this is going to be a clean, let's zoom in, and we can use these functions to pull things up closer. We have our highlight, and the highlight function will highlight anything. It doesn't have to be text. It could just be any shape. It could be the entire paragraph. It really doesn't matter on what is being shared or shown. And this allows us then to also navigate different pages, different documents on the fly. If we're saying, okay, let's pull up Exhibit B. Okay, great. We got Exhibit B. Let's go to page 2. Let's go to page 2. We got page 2 up. And again, these are some keywords we'll go over, but this instance allows us to do numerous things with the calling out several sections, areas, highlighting, and as well as restoring, I would say saving materials. So if we want to show this and you say, you know what, let's look at both pages, and we're going to do toggle here. Let's see here. Shift controls, let's see next. There we go. That's our horizontal. And we're going to do the same thing in vertical. Let's close that out. Let's put up this guy. We got our page side by side. And again, we can pull out sections from each one separately. Let's do the call out over here, and then we'll move them around so that they're stacked. Great. That's a sample of pulling these items out. This can also work with any other document that we have. We can even go into and highlight a specific section of that call out and go from there. We're going to close that for a minute, and we're going to get back into our sharing of our document here, PowerPoint. I mentioned them as I pulled that up, but common phrases that we're going to use when pulling things up that I recommend that you work with the technician. But these are a few common keywords phrases, like let's look at, let's go to, document X, zoom in, highlight. All of these functions, and again, if there's a set of phrases that are not shown or you'd like to go over, these could be brought up and discussed. So not an issue there. Let's see here. I'm going to go on forward. So what sets us apart? So all of the technicians that we're currently deploying in this capacity to share exhibits all have the trial software of OnQ. OnQ is great. It's our go-to trial presentation software, and really that's where we have shown great aptitude, because a lot of our technicians are trial technicians that come from the courtroom. So we're taking the same software, same application, and applying it to a deposition setting where it's a virtual environment already. It's a digital world, so that if you already have your materials, we can pull them up, and that is what's being recorded. Just like how this is going right now, this is being treated as an exhibit or a shared screen. So while I present this demonstrative or demonstration, this will be recorded. In addition to that, the witness or myself as speaker would be recorded in the top right corner. Great. So that all the materials you're using, you're going to have a reference point as the video plays, and the witness can interject his or her opinion on the matter, question, or material being displayed. I previously showed the stamp, which is the exhibit stamp in the bottom corner. It's just an electronic stamp that says Exhibit B, or if you require additional stamps, we can work with those, like such as exhibit or deposition exhibit, if there's a preference, and also color, white, teal, blue, clear, which essentially will take over the color, whatever the bottom page is. So great. And I'll show another sample of that as well when we come up to apply those. The next one, not to be confused with the same thing, but an exhibit stamp is the sticker that says the word exhibit on it, and then endorsement. This is helpful in referencing pages, first page, second page, third, or 100. And in that, if you print it out or if you pull it up, you're basically basing the bottom of the document, but it's taking the exhibit letter or number and then applying a page number to it. So if I was to show you that again, let's see here, you share. As I mentioned before, right here, as I highlight is the exhibit sticker, okay, or exhibit stamp. And then on the bottom right, where it just says B1 down, B-1, means it's exhibit B, first page. And then let's see here, going to the next page, B2, etc. So this is something we can assist with if you do not have these endorsements or these stamps. Either way, we can go from there. So back to the slideshow. So besides offering those, the next thing that we've kind of seen as an issue is email. Lots of attachments. They break the 10 to 20 megabyte limit. We utilize Citrix files to send and share materials between the technician, scheduling group, or yourself or firm, so that there's no limit on the file size. There's no limit on the number of files. So we use this method, and it's a one-to-one, meaning you send the link to me, or I request files. Somebody else can't get to it and access the materials. And then again, we will share those with the exhibit technician prior to the start of the depot and make sure that they're loaded into the application like I've been showing you here. In addition to this, and this is really going to be dependent on the venue in which you're going to be trying materials, is we will present live in court. We will present remotely as well, and I'm not putting it on there because we're still working through some of those issues with the courts because nobody's going. That's the funny bit. So in the state of Missouri, there are websites that will let you know what phase your venue or your county is in, and which will also mandate how they would proceed. If it's a phase 0 through 3, I believe, that will dictate the number of individuals coming in, staying in the courtroom, or proceeding going forward. My understanding, however, is the Federal Eastern District and Western District of Missouri will commence on October 5th. So when these cases go forward, we are more than willing to assist with going back into court or remotely if that's something where the courts are requiring everybody to be virtual. Just like I'm doing here, again, communication between our clients and the technicians would allow us to pull these materials up. Have you seen any firms request a Zoom trial? Haven't seen the actual request come through. I've gotten a lot of the, hey, if this goes, can you do it? Just like you mentioned here, I've seen a motion to request a trial by Zoom. I'm assuming it's only going to be a possibility on a bench trial. Yes, that's true. That's the only one I've seen come through as well, is a lot of bench trials. However, I have been trolling on LinkedIn, and I'm sorry, I'm going to stop that right there so I can do full screen so you guys are staring at that. I've seen a request to do this in person and on Zoom. So again, Zoom, some posts on LinkedIn requesting this. My understanding on how it was being done was one of two methods. Large venue, a school, what do you want to call it? A school auditorium, social distancing, everybody sat there, you know, here you go, watch the proceedings go through. So they're taking them out of the courtroom because of venues in different counties because of spatial issues. However, they're in a phase 2, which allows 10 to 20 individuals in a room with social distancing. And then the alternate that I've seen is providing each juror with a laptop. That can get costly, and I'm not sure if most counties can afford that. But it is a possibility, because then you could do a little bit more social distancing if you didn't have the room. Give them a laptop. But then again, you're going to have additional bailiffs to sit there and make sure they're watching and engaging it. And my understanding, it's called a virtual bailiff as well. So in addition to who is sharing what content, kind of like my role here, I've seen proposals where a clerk or a digital bailiff will spotlight that function, like I was mentioning, where if plaintiff attorney is going to have a question and then have a witness respond, they can show this, the two interacting, or give precedence to or focus to the judge or opposing counsel when it's an objection. So it gets kind of tricky, but making sure that the juror is engaged is the idea. I have not been involved with one going forward. I think there was one in Philadelphia, but again, I can look up that information and provide that with my follow-up and this document when we're done at the end of the session, when it goes out. I will say, if you are here and you've stayed this long, great, I'm glad. just when you call or send an email to it@alaris.us or with the marketing team so that you can get your credit. That credit is good for 1 hour of either technician time through a deposition. If it's no cost to you for 1 hour and you want to try it out, great, let us know. As well as in-person tech or virtual if that is the case. So you'll have 1 credit hour. Just let them know and we'll have you on file. So let me double check here. We got chat. Yeah, so again, display on why we're doing this. The court reporter, it's crazy when they're trying to do so much. And again, some individuals like that catered service, and that's what we want to provide is a application or a platform in which we're there for you. So our services extend past this. If it's a physical depot or in-person depot and you need physical exhibits, we can also do printing as well as digital endorsements, production, any of those natures there, and any preparation for your deposition. So please reach out to us. Does anybody have any questions over the materials I kind of brought up over here? And it could be a general. We've been doing Zoom since March, and we've now have over 60 accounts to facilitate this, because honestly, it's not going to go away. So if you need to get your hours and keep your material and your case moving forward, it's going to be in a virtual or physical environment. We are open physically in most of our locations or all of our locations. Please call and talk and we'll discuss that. But we are doing health screening, so temperature, mask are required. I'm in a room by myself, so I'm exempt from wearing my mask at the moment, but basically based on your locale, we're going to follow that as best we can and practice with us. So if there's any additional questions, you can email it@alaris.us. And again, I'll send that into chat, it@alaris.us. Ask any questions about Zoom, its functionality, its features, and things of that nature. We are going forward also with mediations in this platform. It's a great platform to do it as well, because Zoom supports breakout rooms. So it's a virtual room within a room. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. But once you've experienced that, it's awesome. If you need additional training or one-on-one, please also reach out to that email address, and then we can kind of custom put together a presentation for you, your firm, your partners, however it might be, to discuss these matters going forward and to show you a little bit more in detail. Again, if you're completely new to Zoom, by all means, we'll help you out. It's nothing. We've gone through it lots of times with individuals and getting kind of their feet wet on this platform. There we go. We got Jen on here. She's more than willing to do a tutorial on ADR, and I'll probably be there to help as well. So again, contact Jen Matthew. We'll include her contact information as well on here, but it'll be a great platform. And again, we're doing both in-person, virtual, and hybrid. So again, I know we're right up on that last minute here, but if you have any last questions, please get them in. Yep, email me directly. Let's see here. Okay, that's J Matthew with no S. So go ahead and shoot her an email and we'll get that straightened out. And let's see here. Great job. Thank you. Have a good day, everybody. We're going to stop this, and this will be available shortly once it's processed through its queue. And again, the materials will be sent out as well. Thank you, and have a good afternoon.